What is your first impression of a Rubik's Cube? If you looked at it, what would you think? Maybe you'd say it's easy to solve one face, or maybe even the whole thing. It could be a challenging puzzle, or just another way to pass the time. What if I told you that this is essentially how everybody looks at life? Sometimes it's going to be easy, like the weekend when you have no homework and you just spend it with your friends. Oftentimes, however, life will be hard on you. Like the weekend when you have 50 pages of your textbook to read, as well as an essay due by the end of the night. And don't forget, you have a game tomorrow morning, so that means you're going to be waking up pretty early. This is exactly why we need resilience, to be able to go through these rough times in our lives and make it to the good times. We make the best out of what life hands us. Allow me to paint you a picture. I was born and raised in the United States, and I was living here for a few years. Eventually, I had to move to the Philippines, to be exact. And I was living there for around 2 years. And it wasn't pretty. But when you're moving from a first world country to a third world country, 9 times out of 10, it's never going to be pretty. So, that was to be expected. But sometimes expectations just aren't enough. Culture shock still hit me like a grenade. There was a new language, a new culture, new people. Every part of my old life was irrelevant here. You have to understand that people in different parts of the world are different in every way. This may seem obvious, right? But when I say in every way, I mean they're literally different in every single aspect. Think about a joke that you would tell your friends, or a game that you would play as kids. The food that you eat every day, the way that you get to school, even the way your house is built. In a new country, all of these things are different, and all of them matter. Especially in a country that is a polar opposite of where you used to live. To put it into perspective, I had classmates that couldn't speak English, and I couldn't speak their language. They would play games without me because I didn't know what they were. They would share food and tell jokes that I had never even heard of before. Because of this, naturally, I was outcasted. But it's not like they were trying to be mean, they just didn't understand me. And truthfully, I didn't understand them. I was essentially placed into a world where I was knowledgeless, where I didn't know anything about anything. Everything had been different from the life that I had been living for at least a decade. Honestly, I felt hopeless. In fact, we've all had moments where life tries to knock us down. In these moments, we feel overwhelmed, lost, and unsure of how to move forward. The natural instinct is to let the weight of the moment keep us there. But we have an innate capacity, an inner strength that allows us to stand back up. This is called resilience. And resilience is a funny thing. Resilience is not the absence of pain, fear, or difficulty. Resilience is not about avoiding the storm, rather it's learning how to navigate it. Resilience is about going from what if the storm passes to what can I accomplish in the rain. Let's look at the Rubik's Cube example again. This was me when I first arrived in the Philippines. I was scrambled, lost, unsure of myself, and afraid. But we as humans have an inherent nature to not want to see ourselves give up, to not want to see ourselves fail. So what did I do? Well, the first thing on my agenda was actually trying to learn how to talk to people. I would spend 2 hours every day after school learning Filipino. Slowly, I dropped my American mannerisms and I acquired Filipino ones. You would be surprised about how much different people carry themselves when you are the outsider. I ended up making my first few friends here. Next, I had to do well in school. Catholicism was a required class, and obviously I was years behind. But with enough studying up, I managed to pull through. I was also pretty terrible at Filipino, but with all those extra hours I had been putting in, everything seemed to fall into place. I was pretty comfortable here. I mean, I had a few friends, I had good grades. What more could I actually ask for? But like you can see, just like this Rubik's Cube, I was incomplete. The people Everything I said would just be dismissed and responded to with just a nod and a smile. The people in the Philippines are used to crime, as it's a crime-rampant country. I mean, there were 6th graders driving themselves to school after taking illicit substances the night before. For me to be a part of these people, or for them to not see me as an outsider, I would have to abandon my moral compass and completely reshape my identity, which wasn't something I was willing to do. Take a look at the Rubik's Cube. Let's say for this Rubik's Cube to fit in with a group of pyramids, it would have to become a pyramid. You could turn and turn and turn and turn the Rubik's Cube over and over again, but it will never become a pyramid. You could break it down and build it back up to no avail. To put it bluntly, I would have to do some illegal things. So instead of focusing on what everyone else wanted from me, I decided to focus on myself. And like I said, resilience is a funny thing. It helps people in their own ways. So for me, that was through school. I passed all of my classes that year, and I graduated at the top of my class as valedictorian. That year, I had worked harder, studied longer, and pushed myself more than everyone else because of resilience. And every person here can do the same. Every single person right now is resilient. You can do anything that you put your mind to, but you have to act on it, and you have to want it. You can have the instructions to solve a Rubik's Cube in your face, but if you don't turn the sides, nothing will change. After I graduated, I was ecstatic, but then it was on to 7th grade. The school wasn't the best, and it honestly seemed to be going downhill. I met a few new people there, but all was the same. I thought it would be different. I spoke their language, copied their mannerisms, I knew a few of their interests. I mean, we finally had things in common. Unfortunately, this was me turning the cube, hoping that one day it would become a pyramid. They would always see me as the foreigner and the outsider. So I decided to focus on myself again. That year, I graduated as valedictorian, again. But like you can see in the cube, not much changed. I mean, why would it? I had already done this before. Then I came to a realization that when you're in a situation that you can't change, it's not about how you try and change your situation, yet about how you view it. I was in a crime-rampant country, in a school that wasn't the best, with friends who couldn't care less about me, and in an environment meant to push me to my limits. But I knew that, and I accepted it. And I was content. I had finally made the best of the situation that life had handed me. We ended up moving back before I could start 8th grade. Now, this story is just proof that through resilience, you can do anything that you set your mind to. You can make the best out of any situation. And while the process had to restart, it wasn't that bad this time, because I had already done this before. So if there's one thing that you're going to take from today, just know that through resilience, you can overcome any curveball that life throws at you. Through resilience, no matter how many times you fall to the floor because life knocks you down, you can always stand back up. Every single one of you here is resilient. And that means that every single one of you is unbreakable. Thank you for having me.